I want you to think about the most painful time in your life. What's going on now, what happened in the past, what comes across your mind? Does regret cross your mind? Do you think about different things you could have done to possibly avoid this situation? Thing is, so many people go through struggles every single day. And depending on the severity of the struggle is depending on the severity of the toll it takes on the person. Struggles are hurtful, they're painful, they're filled with agony, they're horrible, but they are helpful. I know it's kind of not sounding right to say that, but they really are. A little bit of personal experience with this. Between 6th and 7th grade, it was over summer. I do remember like it was yesterday. I was on the way to a baseball practice, and my mom had been going through a series of tests at the time, and I wasn't too worried about it. I was a 12-year-old in summer. I was, happy-go-lucky, and she told my brother and I she had cancer. My mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. Now, me at 12 years old, I had seen cancer movies before, and they didn't paint a good picture in my head at all. I didn't know what to expect. I was scared. I began to question God. I was like, God, how could you do this to my mom? It's my mom. I questioned his judgment. I wasn't the same me. It was just, it wasn't a good time. It wasn't until so much longer after that I realized that it did have a purpose. And I can take that purpose and I can use it to my advantage to make it positive, or I can just sit back and just not do anything about it. God has a plan through all of us. Because if he didn't have a plan for us, if he didn't plan to use us for his work, let's face it, we wouldn't be here right now. That's the sad truth about it. I always have this verse I look at. It's Philippians 4:13. I can do all this through him who gives me strength. For those of you going through a tough time right now, if you're struggling, if you're stuck so far down you think you're just not going to get out, you think there's no way out, there is. I can promise you there's a way out. And that's through Christ. I was saved at a young age, 7 years old. And I haven't been the perfect Christian all my life. I've made so many mistakes. And, I take full responsibility for them. They made me who I am. The thing is, though, when we do all of this and when we fail and when we go through these struggles and all this bad stuff happens to us, when we come out and we get through all of this, we are a much, much stronger person. And on top of that, it builds a testimony. For those of you who are believers, it builds an amazing testimony. And I'm not saying that, a person that went to church their whole childhood, had a pretty normal life, doesn't have a great testimony. I'm not saying they can't save anyone, because any believer can save a non-believer through Christ, and it's an amazing thing. But when you have a unique testimony or a strong testimony, you tend to attract either a certain group of people or a certain person, and God works his magic through that, and it's truly an amazing thing to see your testimony go into work. You might think, oh, this might never mean nothing means something, sorry, and this will never apply to anything. This is just something that sucked, that happened, and that's over. And then you talk to someone about it, and you realize, hey, they had the same thing happen to them, and you talk with each other about it, and it just builds a bond. And that's what God uses these struggles, these failures, these setbacks. He uses us and uses these situations and creates good out of it. And that's something you have to look at. There's a positive to everything. And I know that sounds very hard, and it's a very hard concept to take in. It's very hard to accept that. It's not easy accepting the fact that all these horrible things can happen, but you can have something positive. A lot of people believe, nothing positive can come out of this, nothing good can come out of this, but it can. It really can. I'm so thankful that God has given me the opportunity to continue to talk about my mom and how she's been cancer-free since. I'm sorry. That's truly a blessing. So whether you think your struggle is so hard and nothing's going right for you, just count your blessings. You're still here. You still have family. You still have people who love you. Those are your blessings. And through all of this, struggles do have a purpose. And that's, for one, to mold you and create you a great testimony. 2, to make you a much stronger person, because I don't know a single person who's gone through a hardship and come out not a stronger person. And 3, plain and simply said, it's for God's greater plan. And that's something we just have to accept through faith, because faith in Christ is everything.